Okay. So I think then, let's just go through the process for potential, look at the amounts and also look for any potential stipulations that might be.
For almost all of the capital grants that required matching, I just put that in as a placeholder that they wouldn't get funding until they met their match, but I think that probably needs to go line item and figure out each project.
Yeah, so for the 11.94, we don't need matching funds for that one. There will be other funds, but it's not going to be matching.
I'll just drive. All right, the child care is at 8.7 million. Any?
No,
8.4. Oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong. 8.4. 4.5 million for the cooking housing projects is all one item. That one probably, you might want to remove the contingent because I think they said that they would fund the first one as much as possible and then the second one with what was left over and probably find other sources for the third one.
So that was at once the scenario that some didn't want and did want after our conversation last time. So they'll just fund the easy one and move on from there. But at this point, I think we're funding one line and then the rest is the difference for them.
I don't have a strong opinion. I just remember the point being made that then they may never finish the third project. And
I'm sorry, I was distracted again. I let me close this. I do care. I am worried that we'll not see the third project or even perhaps the second project if we do it this way. So I would prefer to do it. What I think we could do is attempt to do it project by project. And if CHA comes back to us and says, we just can't get this to work, we could reappropriate at a later date.
But we didn't allocate funds for each separate project under Cook Inlet. And so.
we could. I think that's
Right.
Yeah. We had it when we originally had this. We had like 2 million. We had 2 million at for Chibala Corners, and then I had originally advocated for not putting Mountain View Brewsters because I just didn't think it was going to happen. But
So the first line item is all of them combined. And so what we need is a sentence that says X% for A,
Yeah.
X% for B, X or not, or all for one. Meg.
So if you add up the total number of housing units, they're suggesting 38 plus 6 plus 20. Why don't we say in support of the development of that many housing units?
So they have to use it on at least a number of projects.
Yes. Just tie it to the number of units they're saying that the projects will yield.
okay, so it's 64 units.
44.
I mean, sort of
64?
practically what could happen, right, is they put the bulk of the money into one or two and then use $30,000 to do some sort of study on blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm just saying, having worked with sort of this kind of, not them, but personally in real
Yeah.
estate. I mean, that's what you do if you need to fulfill that. So
Okay.
I'm fine with whatever.
59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64.
Okay, Meg, are you ready to-
Yeah.
Daniel will check
Yeah.
Meg's math after she, are you writing the sentence?
That's already in there.
Claire?
So I have as written, Chibala, Coronado Park, and Brewster support the development of 64 units of housing.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
It's very squishy. And it seems like it's not, but it is. And that's because some of the projects that they had proposed were, I think, gap funding in part. Part of it is really development costs because they aren't past the development phase. And then
Chris, could I suggest something?
Yep.
Could you and Forrest and Meg just work on this offline and get a sentence and some term you're happy with? I think
Yeah. And that
everyone
maybe-
else looks a
maybe
little
we can
flexible on
do
this one.
By amendment. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
we can
or
do that
just-
by amendment.
Or just work on it this afternoon and put, is that okay with everyone? Just so we don't
I
have,
have
yeah.
meetings that start here pretty soon. at 4,
People,
so-
eyes are starting to,
Yeah, I get it. We're glazing. So
All right.
you thought this was going to be fast.
Yeah. Covenant House, 2.5 million. That was an increase. Volunteers of America, 1.9 million. That was a decrease. Oh, sorry, I was misreading the cells. Okay. The Beal Kill got moved down to 1.2 million. The Black Caucus stayed the same. Girdwood Little Bears is now at 1.6 million. Permanent supportive housing is at 1 million. Crisis Stabilization Center, I think that one is the same, 884. Hunger Relief went down to 800,000. Potter Marsh took a small dip down to 771. Chugach Mountain Riders, that one went from 750,000, it's now 525,000. I guess we could probably just scroll down to the next section of yellow. Or, oh,
yeah. We'll just
Sorry,
keep going
go-
through it. Yeah.
I guess go back up to those stipulations. The next one with the stipulation was the Alaska Black Caucus. And the little bears might need a different stipulation.
Go ahead.
So I don't think it should be a project stipulation. I think it should be a whereas overall stipulation that any project that's contingent on meeting matching funds, those funds need to be fully in hand no later than the date we've specified. So that way we have time to reallocate funds if those projects aren't going. Those are the drop dead dates for any projects with matching funds.
Yeah, but we still have to walk through row by row and identify the ones that have those stipulations.
I don't think so because the proposals indicate which ones that still need to go find their matching funds. I mean, yes, on the back end for our own tracking,
Right.
yes. But for purposes of getting the resolution done, I don't think so.
I think we're putting in the stipulation that we don't release the funds to these organizations until they show proof of matching funds. That's what we're saying here.
Yes, but I think we're trying to get to where the resolution is ready to go. And so for purposes of that, I think it's just a whereas, and it just applies to all matching fund projects.
But for the purposes of this spreadsheet, we need to identify line by line which ones we concur have a matching requirement.
And
Even
which
if the
ones-
proposal said it or not,
So some organizations will release the funds immediately, even if they have a matching requirement. Others, we wouldn't. So it's potentially, we would release them immediately if they had a matching.
For instance,
Yeah.
the Providence, Alaska house,
Yeah.
they've already got almost all their money. You're just giving them the last million. There's also some projects that you cut in half, but they're still ready to go. They'll just reduce their project.
I just think let's keep working one line at a time. We're making progress.
Okay, Girdwood
you
Inc.
guys work on that with the Chabala thing. However you want to format it.
The formatting isn't so important to me.
Yeah, we're not worried about formatting.
Well, yeah, you are. You're worried about whether you put it line by line or you put it at.
No, what I'm worried about is, do we agree that there's a matching requirement for project A or B or C or D? And so that's the question that's before us, not what format does the communication to the administration and the grantee take or the public.
Yeah, that's not what I was talking about.
It's like, we have to check the box, yes or no.
It
for
just seems
projects.
like you guys have strong opinions and a vision on this, so maybe, does anybody else?
What I'm going to assume right now is if it does not say there's a stipulation for a matching requirement, then
Yeah.
it doesn't have a matching requirement.
I think that's right. Yeah. But if it does have a matching requirement, when do they get the money and how do they work that out? That's what I heard Shelley talking about,
Right.
so.
Well, so staff wrote the grant stipulations. You're saying you're comfortable accepting staff recommendations.
Right.
I'm saying I'd like Chris and Meg, who have feelings about it, to work with you to resolve it, but maybe that's asking too much.
Okay, if you're willing